Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is actually a wrap-up of Star Trek The Original Series Season 3. This is going to be our top 5 episodes of the season, and we're also going to do our top 5 worst, which is notable because the previous 2 seasons when we did this, we did top 5 best and only top 3 worst. So, take that for what you will.
Yep. We don't need to say anything. The implication can just sit there.
Yep. So yeah, this is something we've done for the last couple of seasons. We like to just kind of wrap up the season of the show. Given that it's a very standalone episode type of series, we can kind of rank episodes. It feels weird. We never really do this for most other shows because it feels weird to rank episodes in a serialized show. I mean, you can do it. Hell, maybe I'll even do a complete ranking of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer one day. But
we do a variation where at the end of the year we pick out our favourite episodes from the year.
we do, yeah.
And of course, by its nature, that means we're putting one episode above another.
That's true, but it's not quite the same as doing, here's the top 10 of the season this year or whatever. But we do it for this because the episodes are very standalone and it just makes a lot of sense. And it's something we'll probably take forward into next gen as well when we get to that. Because obviously after this we'll be doing the movies. Next week will be Star Trek the Motion Picture. That's what you're getting next week, so you can look forward to that. But I think we'll do the worst episodes first, right? That makes sense.
Can do.
Do the worst first. Save the best for last, as they say.
What's more exciting to really dig into the worst few or praise the best couple?
I can't remember what we did because I would just go with what we did the last couple, but I can't remember which way around we did it. I don't know if the argument was it's the best 5 and then the worst is like the bonus section, or
but they're equal here.
Let's do worst. We'll do. No, actually, that because I think I'm more passionate about what's number 1 and the worst than I am about number one and the best. So
yeah.
Okay, so top 5 best episodes from Star Trek: The Original Series Season 3. That's what we're about to do. And number 5, we have all our yesterdays, which is episode 23 of the season. You're the one who fought for this one more than me, so you can make the case.
Yeah, so this was right towards the end of the season, and this is where we had them go to the library, and they entered the different time periods, and you had Kirk in one, and you had Spock and McCoy. Go to a different one, and they were in the Ice Age, and Spock started regressing, but it was I really like the stuff that I did for those two characters and their relationship specifically. Spock had some nice human moments because he was a bit more emotional than usual, and you had him debating whether to choose between McCoy or Kirk, and these things that he couldn't just be logical about it. It's not a perfect episode. Some issues with the Kirk plot maybe a little bit meandering.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we're saying the 5th best episode is not perfect. I mean, not the episode's perfect, but just the idea that we have to point out, there's a lot of flaws as well. It's just kind of, again,
there is.
indicative of the season as a whole.
Yeah. But I think I really enjoyed that stuff between the other two enough that, I come out on top of the episode.
Oh, that's fair. The troubles with the Kirk plot, and then the relationship with Spock wasn't doing as much for me. So, as much as I liked the idea of him picking between things, it felt weird. The crux of the episode was the relationship with the woman, which I did not necessarily feel all that much. But I didn't have anything else to argue with and say, hey, this should be on here instead. So.
No, I said that if you can come up with something that is better than this, then I'll settle for it. Yeah. But you couldn't, so.
Here we are. So number 4 on the top 5 episodes of the season is episode 24. One more up. The final episode of the season, Turnabout Intruder, which again has its flaws. There's definitely flaws with the setup in this episode. But if you go back to the last episode of this, where we talked about this episode, we had a lot of kind things to say about its intentions and about the emotional culmination of the show. Despite the fact that Star Trek's not a series that has ongoing plots and then things culminate in the same way that other shows would, it still felt like no, the entire show matters. This is like us basing the crux of the final kind of act and the decision the characters need to make is based around the idea of them saying, hey, we know our captain and we know the crazy things that we've been through, and that's what's going to give us the information to make the right choice. And because of that, it kind of worked. There were some touching moments in this one. So
No, there was, like you say, flimsy at the start and end in the plot, but heart's in the right place, and that counts for a lot.
yeah, I really the courtroom scene, and if you want to call it court, it's not really a courtroom, but the hearing, was very good, very very good. So number three, is that's the worst list. I almost said the wrong one there. Number three is Wink of an Eye, and this. Oops, you went away for a second there.
I did. I thought I'd broken something.
Blame Windows basically for doing that. Is it all I'm going to say? So this was
What we
episode.
should do is blame Skype for updating in the first place.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that would not have been an issue on old Skype.
Which, I mean, I'm pretty sure Windows owns Skype anyway, so yeah, blame Windows. We'll blame Microsoft.
Microsoft own both, yes. So this is episode 11. Is Wink of an Eye, and again, this one has its flaws, but it's a really interesting premise. It's the idea that they encounter this race that are so fast that they can't even see them. Because at first, I think, I was rolling my eyes, all weird random things are happening they can't explain, and it's like, there's going to be like a godlike entity. But then it turned out, no, they're just moving so fast that we can't see them with our eyes, and because of that, we end up in this great kind of like these scenes where our characters are standing still, and these, the villain characters are walking around and talking and plotting and planning, and
it had really strict rules.
Yes.
Unlike a lot of these style episodes, and you had a lot of fun with trying to pass messages back and forth, trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. Spock was like slowing down or speeding up like footage to try and catch whoever was there, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot bit hokey in places, but for our taste in sci-fi, it struck some chords. As it was like, okay, this is kind of fun.
It was, yeah.
It felt a bit more balanced than the two episodes that we've mentioned so far, which is why it kind of ranks a little bit higher. But yeah, so it's good. And then episode number two is actually episode 2 as well. Funnily enough, is the Enterprise incident. And this is the thing, we'd heard so many bad things about season 3. This was episode 2 of the show, and it was really surprising that this was such a good episode so early on in the season.
And we went, hey, maybe season 3 won't be too bad after all.
And to be fair, for the most part, it wasn't actually as bad as I think we expected it to be. It was more middling.
Mediocre.
Yeah, it was more middling than it was bad for the most part. But Kirk makes this ridiculous order to go into Romulan space, goes through the neutral zone, and they get picked up by Romulan ships. We meet this Romulan commander who kind of takes a liking to Spock. She's kind of attracted to him, and Spock ends up like killing Kirk with a Vulcan death grip. But then Kirk wakes up in the med bay with McCoy, and it turns out the whole thing's been a ruse. Basically, the Federation, it's a top secret mission to steal the plans for the stealth tech, the cloaking device.
Yeah.
And this is the one where Kirk also gets the fake ears to look Romulan, so he has Spock-like ears for the episode after this point. So some jokes made about that's quite fun, but I think what really made this entertaining for us is the idea that it actually kind of flips the roles of the characters, because in this episode, Spock was the one flirting with the attractive opposition. Yeah. He was the one doing all that stuff and being kind of the charismatic one, and then Kirk had to take the more Spock/McCoy role of being kind of the fumbling one and be logical.
And also, I really appreciate the subterfuge. I feel like Trek hasn't done a lot of that. Whereas this movie was like kind of sneaking around, like, okay, we're playing a bit dirty. I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And of course, the actual relationship with the Romulan is actually, comparing it to all your yesterday's, I felt like I got this one a lot more. I felt the connection, I felt the temptation, and she's like, oh, you could be with us, and you could be like a great commander in your own right, and she promised all these things. And at the end, they have that poignant moment where she kind of says, hey, you could have been something. He's like, no, but I would have just disappointed you if I'd not stuck to who I was, if I'd not been, absolute in who I am. And she kind of agrees with him. And I feel like this one had more to say about Spock as a character, and had more to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the relationship had more going for it. So that's kind of where I land. And then the best episode for us of the season, number 1, is the Tholian Web, which was
was a relatively easy decision.
Yes, this was episode 9, and it was an easy decision. It was, this and the Enterprise incident are clearly the 2 best episodes. Like, these were 1 and 2, no matter what. And Tholian Web is a great episode where they're looking for the Defiant, the USS Defiant, which does come up in later shows. It was mentioned in Discovery, the season 1 of Discovery, and Kirk, they basically realise that the Defiant is like it's empty, the crew's all dead, and it's starting to phase out of existence, and they just get everyone else off in time, but Kirk is the last one, and he gets left behind. And Spock and co on the ship have to sort of decide, we're going to stay around and hope that he comes back. Spock kind of figures out, it'll appear, it's phasing in and out of time, it'll come back in, 2 hours or whatever it is. And then Tholians show up, and they say, hey, you're invading our space, and Spock convinces them to let them stay until he thinks Kirk's going to appear, but then when he doesn't, a bit of a battle ensues, and then the Tholians make this web. Their two ships make this giant web, and they're trapped. And if they finish the web before they can leave, before Scotty's got the power up and running, and they can leave again because they're damaged from the first battle, then they're going to be trapped there. So it's this race against time where McCoy's actually saying he thinks Kirk is already dead and they should just leave. So McCoy's in the wrong in a lot of this episode.
There is, but it's nice to see the debate being taken seriously. It's not just, we're just going to wait no matter what. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's almost interesting, almost like kind of heartwarming that Spock, the logical one, is the one that's saying no. The odds are still there that he can be alive.
Yeah.
Right? He's using logic to say, no, he can still be alive, and we're going to try and... but it also plays like, is there just a little bit of like emotion, a little bit of loyalty? Just affecting this decision, just a touch, and that's kind of heartwarming. Then you got the race against time, and you got them beaming him aboard just as he's running out of air and dying, and they see like ghosts of Kirk like phasing in and out of time on the ship, and it's just a really atmospheric episode because there's the mystery of what happened to the ship, and it's still relatively a mystery as well as
absolutely.
By the time we get to the end of the episode.
They don't really figure it out. They know what's happening. With it phasing in and out, but they don't know why.
Which is, I think, why we can have fun with it in later Trek shows about, okay, where did it go? And,
and what caused it in the first place. What's really going on with it.
So no, it's just a really fun episode. The Tholian web's a great visual. I think I remember saying that one of the elements, it almost felt like 2 different episodes. You could have taken the Tholians and their web away. Because we've got the Kirk time. You could have just had any threat would have done, I think I said in the review. But... it's still really fun though. Like, I actually really like the web. It's a really cool visual, and
but it was like, okay, no, that's a whole thing on its own that we could have really gone into and explored.
Whereas
here they're just they're the ticking time bomb for the episode.
They're the threat to the Enterprise, because obviously we've got a threat to Kirk, but we need a reason why they have to leave. Is basically it. We need a reason why they have to make the choice, and that's what the choice was. So the Tholian Web is our favorite episode of Star Trek season 3, which does take us on to our worst 5 episodes of the season. Number 5 coming in. I'm just trying to find the episode number. That's why I'm taking a little second every time I'm seeing what they are, because I forgot to write down the episode numbers. So I'm just finding them. So this is episode 20. This is The Way to Eden. This is one we did quite recently as well. This is the hippie episode. With hippies who want to find Eden. It's very one note. The characters are very annoying. There's a lot of singing. What I will say though is that I do think this and one of the other bad episodes that we're going to bring up in an entry or two's time is that I do think it has a really fun ending because you don't like the episode. Like, because you hate the characters so much, the ending's actually really funny.
It's satisfying.
Yes,
because the episode's been bad. If the episode had been good, it wouldn't be a satisfying ending.
Well, it might be. It might be in a dark way, but
in a different way.
Yeah, but because we hate the characters that they've got in the episode, the ending was making me laugh my ass off. So I do actually like the ending, but it is a really tedious episode. There's too much singing. There's like elements that they introduce. Like they introduce at one point that maybe they'll start swaying members of the crew to like join their cult. But they never actually do. It's like brought up and then just kind of left. Like there's 1 or 2 scenes of them trying to do it, and then it just never happens.
Even the pivotal moment when they're running away, they're escaping at the end. They say, right, go and get as many of them with us as you can, and then none of them go with them.
Yeah, and then they also at one point say, we're going to gas the ship, and they flat out have a moment where the women character who's kind of got a pass with Chekhov says, oh, that'll kill them, can we do it any other way? And he's like, no, I'm sorry, we have to do it this way. So they clearly tell us this is going to kill them, and it just doesn't. Everyone just gets back up, it's fine.
Conveniently, there's no reason for it. Kirk even says, well, hey, they thought that was going to kill us.
How did he even know they thought that was going to kill them?
I don't know.
Like, see if they just told me, oh, they miscalculated the amount they needed for the size of the ship, so it was thinner than expected or something. I don't know. I mean, it's not that great, but it'd have been something.
Yeah, no, this was just, oh, that should have killed us. Good job it didn't, eh?
So yeah, rough episode, but there you have it. The next episode, number 4 on this list, worst episodes, is the Paradise Syndrome. This, I believe, was episode 3. It was. So this is the Native American episode where Kirk loses his memory and he marries a Native American woman because the tribe think he's a god. And then, I mean, again, this is not the one I was talking about, but I do also kind of appreciate how dark this ending is.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, I get you.
Because, at the end of the episode, and I guess with just spoiler warning for these episodes that we're talking about, I should have said that at the start, but, like, his wife dies at the end. Like, she jumps in front of, like, an arrow or a rock or something like that to save him, and she dies. She dies in his arms. So we have the typical Kirk love interest, but she actually was married, and she was pregnant as well, I believe. I think that was also something that was mentioned.
It might be. It's
Yeah.
too long for me to remember that exact detail.
I feel like she was pregnant, and I think that was this is the thing, this was like right back at the start of the season, so the memory's a bit hazier, but
Yeah.
most of this episode was tedious. Everything with like the other tribesmen being suspicious of Kirk and thinking that he's not actually a god, Kirk not knowing who he was, all of it was just really tedious to get through.
Boring. Yeah.
Like the last couple of minutes were kind of interesting. That was about it. So
Yeah.
Paradise Syndrome.
Not very good.
There you go. Number 3, episode 1, Spock's Brain. Everyone expected this to be on here. Some probably might have expected it to be number 1. We said this at the time.
I was going to say, people who have listened to all our reviews will know that this wouldn't have been number 1, because there are other ones that we said at the time. It's like,
oh yeah,
still worse than Spock's Brain.
It's really bad. Don't get me wrong. It's a really goofy episode. A woman beams aboard the Enterprise and knocks everyone out and then steals Spock's brain. So then they're on a time limit because apparently a Vulcan body can survive X number of hours before the brain can be put back in. And then McCoy saves him by putting on like a hairdressing thing, the big
Yeah.
which makes him smarter so he can do the operation. The whole thing is
maddeningly bullshit.
It's really goofy. It's a really goofy episode, but and it is really bad. But it has this reputation for being the worst episode of the entire show, and clearly we don't think that's the case. I think it's really silly. I do not think it's as bad as a couple of others, at least this season.
Do you know what? I think I remember us saying in the review. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I remember us saying at the time that we knew of this reputation that it was the worst of the show, and I'm sure we've watched worse ones already.
Yeah, I think I couldn't name what they are. Just I'd have to go back and check what we said the worst episodes of season 2 and 1 were. But I feel like there was 1 or 2 that were worse, at least for us.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think we said that at the time.
So hey, that's Spock's Brain at number 3. Number 2 is And the Children Shall Lead. This is actually episode 4, which is funny because that means episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 have appeared on either of the lists. Which is amusing. But
this season was all over the place at the start until it settled into mediocrity.
That's the thing, yeah. Once it settled in, it was just kind of a solid 6 out of 10, 5 to 6 out of 10 for a long time, and then it was fine.
Yeah.
So, And the Children Shall Lead. They find a bunch of kids on a planet. All the parents are dead. They seem to have killed each other. They bring the kids aboard. They want ice cream. He's not happy with the flavours. I remember a whole debate happening because of the ice cream.
Absolute little shit. He's complaining about it. Like, no, just take it. Shut up.
And hell, I'm a simple man. Sometimes I just want vanilla.
Yeah, but if I recall, maybe not, but if I recall, he was. I got that, but
yeah, good. I'm glad you got that joke.
I did, but he was asked, "Oh, what flavour do you want?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. Well, whatever." They give him a flavour. He's like, "Oh, I don't want this one."
Do you know what I actually want now? I want them to remake this episode, right? But I want this scene to play out more like what's that musical where he asks for more, sir?
Oliver,
that's the one. I want him to go and go, please, sir, have you got any vanilla? That's what I want in my life.
We need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the male first endorsed Star Trek episode with "Have you got any vanilla?" actually in it. So they do this, and then it's just it's there's like a god demon thing. The idea is that the parents unleash some, because it was an archaeological sort of dig. They unleash some spirit or something, and he's controlling the kids and making them evil, and he's giving them all these like powers to like control adults, and that's what made them kill each other.
Yeah, we're basically doing the Mummy at this point.
But they don't have memories of what they did, right? And it's all really kind of, it's just kind of frustrating. There's a lot of bad acting, and I remember a lot of really goofy sound effects whenever they would, like, every time they were using their powers, it'd be like, they make a like constipated face, and it would be like, and there was a sound effect that always played. It was just
and you'd
really
have
over
like
the
the
top.
kids just running around the Enterprise doing stupid shit, like in the vents.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird little moments, but this was the one that I was talking about when I was talking about where the ending almost makes the whole thing worth it, because to snap the kids out of the control of Gorgon, I think the name was, the demon.
Yeah.
They show them the footage of well, first of all, they show them footage of them playing with their parents, and it's all these happy memories, and they're all watching. And then it cuts to footage of their parents all lying there dead, and the camera actually cuts to like close-ups of their heartbroken little faces as it's showing images of their parents violently lying there dead with blood coming from their throats. As violent as 60s TV would allow, but it's so dark and so like yeah, let's just show the kids their dead parents. The final 5 minutes of this episode I freaking loved. I love those final 5 minutes, but it's a terrible episode.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
I was laughing during that scene, how evil they were being to the kids. I mean, they kind of earned it, don't get me wrong, but still.
Yeah.
It was super dark. And that leads us to number one. The number one worst episode of the season. This is Plato's Stepchildren. I think the word we used the most when discussing this episode was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. This was episode 10, by the way. This was the one after Tholian Web. Just for the record, the worst episode of the season came after the best episode of the season. Plato's Stepchildren, a group of psionic. I don't want to say they're more telekinetic than telepathic. They weren't reading minds. They were just controlling people's bodies. And they need McCoy to like heal them, and then they want McCoy to stay. And they're all based off of Plato and other things of that nature. Because of course we had sets and costumes lying around from another TV show, so we're using them.
If I recall, they actually lived in ancient Greece for a bit.
Was that the background to it? Naturally, I've not remembered. So. But
I think they lived in ancient Greece with Plato, and then went and did their own thing.
Yeah, but there's a dwarf character. There's a little guy who they use like a slave, and they make fun of him all the time, and they make him.
And he doesn't have the powers.
Yeah, and they force him to do stuff, and then when McCoy says, "No, I'm not staying. I'm a doctor on the Enterprise. I'm leaving," they basically force Kirk, Spock, and the dwarf character to all do whatever, to humiliate them, to make them fight, to make them. There's a scene in this episode where the little guy is riding on Kirk's back as if he's a horse, and the entire thing is painfully awkward to sit through. And all I could think was how embarrassed and how uncomfortable and depressed the actors must be on set when they're filming an episode this shitty. Like, what are we doing with our lives right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that you feel like, oh, they must have contemplated getting up and quitting, right? Just walking off and I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, this is you can almost see it in their faces at some point where they're just like, it plays in the scene because they're supposed to be upset about what's happening, but it's like,
well, they're definitely not trying anymore at this point.
No. There's a point actually after they're done with Spock and they sort of like have him at the side of the square they're in, and they do the thing with Kirk where Spock's just kind of lying over at the side, and I feel like Leonard Nimoy was just lying there, like he's not even like acting at this point.
I've just got nothing left.
Yeah. It's pathetic to watch this episode. This is easily worse than Spock's brain, and I will fight anyone.
Oh, absolutely.
I will fight anyone on it. It is easily worse than that. It's atrocious of an episode, and I mean, not only that, I would say it's easily the worst episode of the entire show.
I'd have to refresh myself on the other seasons.
I don't, because nothing else was this bad. Nothing else was this embarrassing. Easily.
You're probably right. I'm not going to fight you on it.
Yeah.
I'm clearly not passionate enough about any of the other episodes from the other seasons to go, oh, definitely that one.
Yeah. Plato's Stepchildren can be nuked from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Is awful. Absolute garbage. So there we go. That's a top 5 worst, top 5 best. Star Trek Season 3, our final of these, because it's the end of the show. Which does mean we will be getting on to the movies next time. So next time we do an already cancelled on Star Trek, it will be Star Trek The Motion Picture, and then so on and so forth. And I don't think we'll do a separate video ranking the movies, but I'm sure on the 6th one we'll maybe, just at the end, we'll do a quick ranking.
But then again, you'll have our discussions, and with movies, we usually give rankings at the end anyway. We rate them. So you can kind of put it together yourself.
That's true. But yeah, so this has been the wrap up of Star Trek Original Series Season 3, which is super exciting because we're about to go into like some new really different stuff and dive into next gen after the movies. So yeah, do let us know what you think your best episodes of Season 3 are, what the worst episodes of Season 3 are, in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel, support Already Cancelled and everything we do here, as well as everything else on MaileFuzz TV, you can go over to patreon.com/MaileFuzz TV, and you can support us for as little as $1 per month, which will get you these Star Trek discussions a week early, a bunch of other stuff early, and then some other stuff, of course, at the higher tiers. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Keep watching Star Trek, and we'll see you next time. And it's not almost cancelled, but we did mention the A-Stream episode again. So for the sake of that, have you got any vanilla?